Marketing's my background. It's what I studied at university, and I guess it was where my interest was as I got towards the end of my schooling and into university. I found myself in professional services marketing by accident, like a lot of us, I guess. I worked in a number of telecommunications companies, and then I moved over to the engineering sector. And it was while I was in the engineering sector that professional services marketing really started to come to the fore as an industry for itself. And as part of that, I looked across and I saw what was being done in the law firms and what was being done in the accounting and consulting firms. And at that stage, it was just a different level of sophistication to what we were seeing in the engineering sector, bearing in mind that this was some 20 years ago. So I wanted to make the shift over really as a way to try and further my career and further my participation in the industry. I evaluated moving to law and the accounting consulting firms as well, and the law just appealed to me. One thing that I really value about working in the legal industry is the quality of people that you work with. We're working with very smart people. It's a very high performance industry. And it's people who perform to that level that really stay within this industry. And that always makes it a great place to work because you're always challenged, you're always motivated, and you're always working with some of the best people in the market. I think for me, the trend that is going to have the greatest impact on what we're doing at the moment is marketing tech. I think it's an area that is really advancing at pace. We're seeing a lot of new technologies, a lot of existing technologies being adapted into the legal sector. And we're seeing a lot of changes in buyer behavior. And the technology that is emerging really allows us to understand that behavior and position ourselves at the right time with the right services in that buying cycle. So I think that's a big one for me. I think another one is really the drive towards a much more sales-focused culture. I think sales has always been part of what we do within the legal industry. We don't necessarily like to call it sales, but I think we're seeing a stronger emergence of sales methodologies coming through, and lawyers, particularly those younger lawyers who are moving through the pipeline at the moment, really wanting to understand sales and understand how they can be better at sales and use that to grow their careers. AI is another one that we see. There's a lot of talk about AI in the legal sector, about where the applications for that might be. And I think sometimes the legal sector struggles with those applications on the legal side of the business. I've always really seen areas like marketing, business development as much easier areas to implement things like AI. As an example, we use AI when we're producing content and publishing that content to platforms like LinkedIn. We'll ask the AI to come up with summaries of that content from different angles. So it gives us the ability to repost that content on those platforms, but do it in a different way. So it's not the same content that we're posting. It's putting a different spin on it. And I think finally, the last trend that I think is going to have an impact and has already had an impact is hyper-targeted communications. I think the days of mass mailing and frankly spamming clients with content that law firms produce is over. I think what clients really look for is content that is tailored to their business, highly personalized to the situation that they're facing. And I think where law firms are able to do that, they're able to get much better cut through in terms of the content that they are trying to get in front of clients and targets, rather than just sending out to mass mailing lists. I think you've got to start with the desired outcome. You've got to understand where you are trying to move the firm from and to with the BD and marketing initiatives. And it's got to genuinely have impact on the firm, not just something that we want to run because we think that it's a good BD marketing project. Ultimately, you need to bring people on a journey. You need them to understand why this is important to the firm, what the impact is that it will create, why we need to do it now as opposed to at some stage. And how does it fit in with other priorities where the firm is focused? Business development and marketing is not the only area that the firm has that needs to run particular projects. So we need to fit in with what the rest of the firm is doing, whether that's technology, HR, etc. And I think the final point is really, how is it going to impact those individual stakeholders and why should they care about it? And I think if you can start to address some of those issues and help the partners, stakeholders understand why it is something that we need to do and what the benefit is going to be, that's going to get you a fair way to getting engagement around the initiatives. Another one is data. I think data is a really big one when you're trying to bring people over to an idea and convince them that it is something that is worthwhile, that it's something that should be invested in. Having data to back up what you are saying is really important. Lawyers work in fact and data. That's just how they think, less so opinion and intuition. So if you can use data to demonstrate the change that you're trying to make, it's much easier to get that engagement. I think one of the great benefits that we get is we have access to global client engagement programs that are being run by other parts of the firm. We're able to use those as opportunities to engage with and add value to our clients without necessarily having to have all of the work done out of our own local office. It allows us to get our clients global perspectives on issues and topics that we know are of interest to them and that are of relevance to them. One of the challenges is that we're never short of content within a firm of our size that we can take to clients. And the challenge is perhaps being able to filter that content, find the best content to use in that regard. Another great advantage is the global client relationships that we have. We're able to leverage those relationships and contacts and the expertise that we have when we're looking at new business opportunities, target clients. It allows us to pursue those clients that are already existing clients of the firm, but in other parts of the world. So that just allows us to create a warm introduction where it might have otherwise been a cold introduction. We still very much need to be strategic in the way that we go about assessing and opening those relationships. The proposition of we work for you in this country, so can we come and talk to you about work in Australia is pretty weak and it's pretty ineffective. But that global relationship does give that slight crack in the door that allows us to develop a value proposition that we think will work with them. At a personal level, for me and for my team, a number of members of our team have taken the advantage of opportunities to work from other countries' offices when they're traveling, building relationships with local partners, local marketing, business development team members, and experience a different work culture. One of my former team members was also able to use the relationships that she had developed to secure a role in our New York office. So those opportunities are real and they do exist. I'm really fortunate to have a great CMO director network across the Dentons offices globally. It's a really valuable resource for me in being able to share ideas and insights, and that's certainly a two-way sharing. Also, I think we're really lucky in Australia. There's a great CMO cohort. For me, relevantly in Sydney, there's a great group of local CMOs that I'm regularly in touch with. And we're able to share ideas, insights, and activities that we're getting involved in, and that's a really important forum to be able to test some of the ideas that we might be thinking about. I also try to look outside of professional services. Sometimes we can be a bit of an insular industry. We know that professional services is different than, say, B2C. But despite it being a unique market, there is lots that we can learn from the wider B2B marketing space. And I think it's really important to keep your eye open to those things and to be challenging your thinking about what we do within professional services marketing and what from outside can be applied, particularly in the legal context. And then finally, I try to read a lot. I try to listen to a lot of podcasts of marketing content, business development content, really just to get different ideas and perspectives. So people like Mo Bunnell, Rory Sutherland, Seth Godin, these are great people to get ideas from, and again, be thinking about how they can be applied in a professional services context. I think be curious. Curiosity goes a long way. Challenge the status quo, but also recognize that not every idea and approach is going to get the green light. Successful people in this industry generally have good EQ and know when to push and when to pull back. And that might be just pulling back for a moment, but it might be pulling back completely from an idea. Being able to let go of an idea, regardless of how good or impactful you feel that it might be, can be just as important as the ideas that you do pursue. I really encourage everyone to be prepared and to be accurate. Lawyers in particular work in the detail. And if you try to wing it on those 2 points, that can really damage your credibility and damage your relationships. And on that point, relationships are key. Build these early, invest in them. People will become your champions. I like the analogy of Stephen Covey and his emotional bank account. Regularly make investments and get credits in the bank so that when you need to make withdrawals, you've got some deposits there to fall back on.